Well, look at this face. Sure, you recognize it. In Mississippi Burning, Frances McDormand, and we recognize you because with the work of Joel and Ethan Coen, we've seen you before. So orient us in time. When did you first meet them, and then how did that get to this film, Mississippi Burning?
Okay, I first met Joel and Ethan 6 years ago, 1982, when I auditioned for Blood Simple in New York. And then 3 years later, worked with them on Raising Arizona in a role that I don't think anyone else would have cast me in but them. They knew my work over that 3-year period and got to know me and got to know my mother, so knew that
They got to know your mother?
Yes. So if you've seen Raising Arizona and the character of Dot, there's a little of my mom in there.
Do those roles follow you? Both classics in every sense of the word, and people obviously will associate you with them, as am I. Is that good or bad?
Well, since I love the movies and the characters, it's wonderful. There is one small problem. I'm not from the South. I lived there for about 3 years of my life, but I think since since Blood Simple, I've kind of been associated with the South, with a Southern accent, and my goal right now is to play a Northerner.
All right, and meanwhile, from the Coens to Alan Parker, this has got to be a considerable contrast.
You know, in a very interesting way, it's similar. Actually, the first conversation I had with Alan was about making low-budget movies versus Hollywood movies, and we ended up having a great conversation when we first met about what it was like working with Joel and Ethan and what it's been like for him progressing through the different stages of his career. So it was, as far as the set was concerned, it's very similar because it was, I was a little nervous. I thought maybe on a Hollywood movie set it would be different than on a lower budget. But as far as the crew and just the whole feeling of commitment to the script and to the story, it was very, very much the same.
And I guess it's difficult to overestimate how important your character is because you are a Mississippian through and through, born into a racist ideology, but you have questions. Could you describe yourself, how you're a watershed character, really?
Yes, I think it's interesting because I go back to women of that period, and I think that she has questions, she has doubts, but she has never been asked her opinion. Here, and then comes Gene Hackman's character, Mr. Anderson, and says, just assumes that she does have an opinion and says, what is your opinion? And I think she's first taken by surprise that someone would give her that much respect, and then also that starts the wheels turning, and she starts thinking, yes, I do have the right to my opinion and I want to tell it.
And you're fully aware of how it is that people build up these racist thoughts. You get them as children in the books, and even in the Bible, you quote book and verse.
Right.
This
and
is
I
scary.
think in a fundamentalist religion, I think when they are interpreting the scripture the way they want to interpret the scripture, I think you can excuse almost anything or support almost anything. And I think that's probably the religious background she's from, Mrs. Pell is from.
Is it important that we understand that formation instead of just labeling these people villains?
Yes, I think so, because it makes it much more realistic and also makes you aware that the subtleties of racial prejudice are still alive today, and that the civil rights movement, for however powerful it was, only changed it to a certain extent.
There is an atmosphere between you and Gene Hackman in your scenes together. There is a sexual tension in those scenes that is wonderful stuff. Talk to me about the dynamics of working with him.
He is a wonderful, wonderful actor, and as only another actor can know. He's professional. He is very giving. That sounds trite, but it's hard to find other words to describe it. To be able to not only hear another actor, but be able to listen to them. He makes it very easy to listen, and therefore made my job so easy. All I had to do was really concentrate on what he was doing, where he was with his character, and half my work was done.
But it's so important that we believe that the two of you are drawn towards each other. That tension is critical. critical here.
Well, I think if you were to look in his eyes, you would feel it too.
So you didn't see that famous legend of the solitary loner type character then?
I think that was part of what he built into the character. I think that part is a big part of Mr. Anderson. Though there's also a place right behind the eyes, and I think that's the most telling part of a film actor, that is always open with Gene, and that's wonderful.
Finally, a film you're proud of, a character you're proud of?
Very, very, and
it's nice to be able to say that, isn't it?
You don't know how wonderful that is to say as an actor.
Frances McDormand, yes, a face we've seen before, and one we will see again. She's in Mississippi Burning, and we're both in Washington, D.C. I'm John Tibbetts for KCTV5.